Since basically the very first day of communications theory and practice, which I basically only refer to as #CTPF15, I have absorbed a swarm of concepts and theories that have to do with the consistent theme in the class, digital literacy. At a first glance, I would consider myself to be digitally literate, but digging deeper into the definition and what comes along with the term, I realized that I am clearly not as digitally literate as I thought I was. Throughout my time in this class, I have worked with many different platforms and put my mental digital literacy skills to the test. I would first like to answer the question as to what digital literacy is, because before this class, this term never even really crossed my mind, and now my eyes have been opened wide to it. Cindy Selfie, who we have discussed in class, defines this using the word technological, and she does this in two ways which I thought really accurately described what it is. Technological literacy, meaning the computer skills and the ability to use computers and other technology to improve learning, productivity, and performance, has become fundamental to a person's ability to navigate through society. And, rather, technological literacy refers to a complex set of socially and culturally situated values, practices, and skills. Basically, the overall arching theme to what Cindy Selfie is saying is that you have to comprehend how to use technology and know how to function almost any type of digital device to understand the values that go along with it. Over time, you should have formed skills to help you become digitally literate, and it is essential because it helps you navigate through today's type of society. Sharing is a huge way to get thoughts and ideas out there for people to say, and as Reingold has stated, participation, however, is a kind of power that only works if you share it with others. As I work through my semester-long project, I have started to become a part in full participation, which means I have not just been consuming any message, but also creating and sharing messages of my own. I have done this by searching and consuming different types of content on my subject and combining that with my own personal opinions. Working through certain ways of participation, I've taken my abilities and have been applying them so I can become more digitally literate. From the beginning of the semester, I've been using Twitter to try and take full advantage in the participatory culture. Twitter is a vital way to share others' ideas and create your own, and this has become a big part of my digital literacy life throughout the year so far. I used to have a Twitter from junior year of high school until the summer going into senior year of college, but I was not using it to its full advantage, and I got rid of it because it deemed unimportant to me. So, when I found out I had to re-download it and use it for class, I was a bit disinterested, but eventually, my opinions transformed into a positive light. I had become much more involved with Twitter than I ever previously was. Twitter is more than just sharing how you feel that day. It's a way for you to network and possibly make connections with others that you did not think you normally would. David Silver, who talks about Twitter, says that tweets can be thin or thick. Having a thick tweet is significantly better because it is usually more engaging with hyperlinks, so I try and thick tweet as often as I can. Since my blog topic for digital literacy project was electronic dance music, I was able to connect with people who were interested with the same subject. I used hashtags that related to my subject and others would see and favorite my tweets. I've learned that being on Twitter, you must favorite, retweet, and tweet, and other people have to do the same, and that is how you can fully participate. It is almost like a non-stop cycle. I've shared articles on there that have gotten attention from others that I do not know, so this shows my sharing and participating capabilities are getting somewhere. The way I am participating in the platform is starting to show out to me that I am reaching a higher capacity of what it means to be digitally literate. The concept that related to the theme of participatory culture is the fact that most things out there are a remix of something, but we have to be careful with this idea. The main point is that we have to be careful when we become full participators. Kirby Ferguson discussed a lot of different aspects about this in his Vimeo clips, Everything is a Remix. He reminds us that creation requires influence. We should always be able to express ourselves and say what we'd like, but there are limitations that we need to realize. In this world, there is something known as copyright. The definition of copyright is an exclusive legal right that is given to someone else's work. Our ideas may stem from someone else's idea, and that is how this remix concept starts up. At this point in our lives, it is pretty well known that we can never take someone else's work and pretend that we created it ourselves. Sometimes I think that this multifaceted idea of copyright can confuse people and prevent them from even trying to create an idea, which is unfair in a sense. This is when full participation gets lost. Since I had to blog all semester, I ran into problems a few times but caught myself. I came up with my own experiences, ideas, and thoughts in my blog posts. I was always constantly rereading others' work about the subject, but it would just encourage me to really think of something to write. To be digitally literate, I believe you need to understand the issues attached to copyright, to realize that it is possible to come up with own ideas, but as well be inspired by others. I've started to accomplish this because of my understanding. Other technologies that I have used that aid me in becoming more digitally literate are WordPress site, Feedly, and Pocket. The great thing about these three platforms is that they all connect to one another in some type of way. I use WordPress for my blog posts, so if I find an article on Site or Feedly, I can use that article and possibly form my own blog post out of it. Also, if I find an article on Site or Feedly but I do not have time to read it, I can save it into my Pocket so I can go back whenever I have free time, and it will just be right there and I will not need to research anything. But using these platforms in a cohesive way can enable you to be more digitally literate since you are communicating more efficiently in a digital space. Nancy Baum states, "New media offers a promise of more opportunity for connection with more people, leading to stronger, more diverse relationships." This is a huge concept that we must take away from what it means to be digitally literate. In today's society, it is important for everyone to be digitally literate, or at least start a path that leads in that direction. One must be able to adapt to all the new technologies out there and learn how to utilize them to their full potential. It is possible that when we use these digital platforms to their full potential, we can connect with others and actually make meaningful relationships. Through all the time I spent using these platforms such as Twitter, WordPress, Site, and Feedly, etc., I know that I've come a long way, and many changes have been made. I've definitely made progress in how I interact with each, and I've noticed what it means to be a full participator in each one. For example, my first blog post compared to my most recent blog post is pretty different and created much better. After utilizing WordPress, I've been able to get a grasp of it more and take advantage of everything that it has to offer. For example, adding widgets or even adding media to my posts. I now find myself wanting to tweet out articles that I have found to be interesting, unlike before, where I did not even realize I could tweet out an article because I never thought that much into it. It is understandable that not everyone is going to take advantage of all the new technologies, but those who do need to make a difference. Everyone must be given the chance to communicate what they want to, and if we're using the highest form of our digital literacy, then we can have effective and better relationships, which ultimately is critical for society.